Hey guys, it's Greg Alexander. Today I want to do a little bit different type of video, and I want to talk about the future of bass tournament fishing, because I'm starting to see a little bit of the writing on the wall here. And what I mean by that is, let me give you a little bit of an analogy here. You know, I'm a contractor when I'm not fishing, and I've gone through several economic downturns on this period of time. And the general way that happens is nobody's got any money. Then people start to invest a little bit of money. People start to make a little bit of money. Other people see what they're doing. They think, well, that's a good idea. Let me invest some money too in construction. And construction starts to boom, and then people start to buy houses, and then prices go up, and people think, man, prices are going up. I'm going to sell now and make more money now. And it starts to snowball uphill. And then it gets to a point where, you know, there's so much fake money in the system that it can't hold itself up under its own weight. And, you know, and bear with me now, because you need this analogy to understand what I'm talking about. And everybody wants to buy at the top of the market, right? They buy at the top of the market. You know, a lot of people, you know, were investing big time into the stock market earlier this year, and it went and it's gone again, because, you know, everybody kind of ignored what the experts were saying, that, you know, the market was oversold and overvalued and it was due for a major correction. Well, you know, we're following things with our emotions instead of our intellect a lot of times, and that causes trouble for us. So then the economy crashes, the housing market crashes, and then a whole lot of people get in trouble and get upside down on their mortgage payments and everything. So that being said, there are some parallels to that in tournament bass fishing. You know, as we look at tournament bass fishing, you know, when all the pros left and went to the MLF, you know, out of bass, then bass was stuck with not enough people in their elite fields to even fill out the fields. And, you know, in the first year or so, they let people come in with no entry fee or $2,500 entry fee, where everybody got paid back at least their entry fee, just to get people to come. And they could still only get like 80 people, you know, the first year that happened. And it's starting to metamorphosize now. You know, it's growing kind of like the economy grows, you know, and everybody now wants to get in on it. And everybody's making big changes. You know, bass is making big changes about how you can qualify for the elites, and MLF has just changed their MLF tour status. You know, they've lowered the entry fee, but decreased the number of people getting paid considerably, and looks like they've taken away the championship too. So what I'm seeing happening here, what I see is getting ready to happen here, is the market's not going to bear it much longer. It's not going to bear it much longer, because all the fishing industry corporations are requiring more and giving less. You know, you've been winning $40,000 in an open for countless numbers of years, and the entry fees haven't really gone up that much, but all the other expenses have gone up. You know, 10 years ago, you could get a fully loaded bass boat, nice one, a Ranger, for 60 grand maybe, you know. And now you take that same Ranger today, which has been cheapened out by White River, not even the original Ranger, cheapened out by the White River Corporation, and now that boat is $115,000 all tricked out. Now I do understand that, you know, there's things on the boats now that there wasn't back then. Back then you had a depth finder up front and one in the back, you know, and maybe a set of power poles. But now you got 2 depth finders at the dash and 3 up front, and sound making machines and everything else in the world. Every little thing that you can possibly have, and trolling motors that, you know, cost $3,500 instead of a trolling motor that costs $700. So everything continues to go up, 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 but the product, the result, the end product is still the same. You're still going to make 40,000 in open, unless it's fully booked out to 225. You can make 50. You know, you're still making $100,000 for an Elite Series tournament. You're still making $100,000 or a little bit less now for a Bass Pro tournament. And the payouts are not following the expenses. So expenses have doubled, payouts have stayed the same. So that's a formula for destruction. You know, I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, especially you guys that, you know, you think your future includes a professional bass fisherman, and you got to go through one of these avenues to get there. But that's a formula for destruction, because, you know, as our economy starts to tank, which it's, if you guys aren't paying attention, you know, interest rates are going up, new housing prices are still going up, although demand is dropping off. You understand that the economy is ripe for a major correction. So as this economy goes into another major correction, then all of a sudden Bass and MLF and these other tournament organizations are again going to be left holding the bag, because, you know, you doubled the price, you've not increased the payout, and nobody's fishing. You know, they're not going to fill these fields. You know, here we get to I just fished the Bass Northern Open on the Chesapeake Bay, and a full field is 225, and we got 183 boats. Now, I know a lot of that's probably due to the fact that the bay was sucking and a lot of people didn't want to jump in, but the people who signed up for all three at the beginning of the year didn't even finish fishing. And that goes on to some extent every year. So in order to keep a healthy tournament organization going, like Bass and MLF, you can't change the rules. You can't change the structure every year and every other year. People can only plan based on consistency. You know, you can't allow so much technology on your boat that people just can't afford it without sponsors, because that won't last for long either. That will crash. You don't believe me? It's going to crash, you know, and the fishing industry is going to be left holding the bag. So what's the solution? The solution is you have to have consistency. Payouts have to follow expenses. If Bass is going to take on all these sponsors, you know, or they're afraid to ban live sight or 360 imaging or all these things, and they want to keep all these things into the thing for the sake of sponsors, then those sponsors need to be adding to the tournament payouts. You understand? If it's costing us more because you guys are bringing new technology in that we have to stay competitive as a professional bass fisherman, then those same people are making all this money because now we have to have it to remain professional bass fishing, should be kicking in to the tournament scene to increase the payouts for people instead of just the expenses. And so, you know, that's bankruptcy in every business in America. Increase the expenses, lower the payments, or keep the payments the same and increase the expenses. That's bankruptcy. That's how it goes. If you go in business, you know, most businesses fail in the third generation. You know, a guy starts a business, he works real hard, he works for not as much money probably as he's worth to get the business off of the ground and get going, and he makes it successful. Next generation comes in, lives off of the success of the first generation and can kind of keep it going. And then the third generation comes in, and what's the third generation do? Well, the third generation is basically the silver spoon generation. It's a generation that never had to do anything or work for anything. They had a bunch of money from the business, And then they get into the business, and you know, their appetite for more comes in, and they sink the business because all of a sudden now they're spending more than they're making. And bass fishermen can't continue to spend more than they're making. They just can't do it. And it'll come around full circle and mess up these organizations. That's what's coming. I don't want to sound like a doomer and gloomer here today, you know, but this is the reality of the business side of fishing. Is as the expenses increase, so must the payouts. You know, I can even give you, you know, examples of local tournaments. You know, I've been fishing local tournaments for since 1988. So a long time, 35 years almost. And way back in 1988, to enter a buddy tournament was $40 plus $10 lunker fee, $50. $50. And first place in most of those tournaments got over $1,000 35 years ago. Today, those same buddy tournament circuits are, one of them's $90 plus $10 for lunker, $100, and others like 70 plus 10 for like 80, something like that. I'm not even sure actually, because my buddy pays the entry fees and I take care of the boat expenses, so I don't pay much attention to that part of it. But the point is, you know, you win a tournament today and the entry fees twice, and guess what first place is getting? About $1,000 35 years later. Now the standard of living has tripled in that period of time. You know, 35 years ago, gas was 89 and 99 cents a gallon, 99 cents a gallon. So boats were, my brand new Ranger Bassmaster Classic in 1989. I paid $17,500 for the best boat you could buy. Couldn't buy a better boat. $17,500, right? So what I'm telling you is, if there's not a correction here, expenses versus income, there's going to be a crash. Because as the economy starts to dive, the first thing that goes is recreation, bass fishing, things like that. And it's going to go across the board. It's going to hurt the sponsors. It's going to hurt the product people. You know, the bait companies, the depth finders, the GPSs, the trolling motors, the boats, and all the people that work there. So, in order for the bass fishing industry to survive, it needs to make some major corrections. It has to. It has to. It can't survive any other way. So we'll see here in the next year or three, there's going to be a major correction in the bass fishing tournament scene, a major correction. And, you know, making it harder to qualify for certain things, making it more expensive to qualify for certain things, taking championships away, taking positions, qualified positions away, and not adding any other incentive to compensate for that is a losing formula, in my opinion. So I'd like to hear what you guys have to say on this. This is my opinion. I think it's going to be reality. It's just a matter of time before it starts to be realized in the fishing industry. So make your plans accordingly. Again, I thank you for watching and have a blessed day.